What's up, everybody? I'm John Middlekauff. You know what I need you to do. Subscribe to our YouTube channel. We got content for days reacting to every NFL game all the time, every single day. Subscribe, like the videos. Let's go. Okay, let's do a little thing we like to call the Middlekauff Mailbag. At John Middlekauff. Fire in those DMs. Get your questions answered here on the pod. For the bag, just an observation. We'll try to go, not rapid fire, but we got a lot of questions. Philly kind of looks like KC from last season. Not looking great, but somehow still undefeated. Close wins, blocked field goals, crucial mistakes from the other team. But we give them the benefit of the doubt because they just won the Super Bowl. Do you think it's just a coincidence, or could they get exposed in the playoffs, Super Bowl, like the Chiefs did? Is it maybe the Super Bowl hangover, or just a nothing burger and they're going to be fine? Love the pod. I would say the difference is, if you look at the Chiefs last year, they were a defensive team, right? And an offense that really struggled because they had an older version of Travis Kelce. Rice, at one point in time, Mahomes takes him out. He gets injured. The running game with Hunt and Pacheco. I think didn't Pacheco get hurt last season? It's all kind of running together. Their offensive tackle position was a disaster, right? They started the second rounder from BYU, and then they moved Joe Thuney out there. So I would say this Eagles team, I would take Mahomes over Jalen over the course of a season if all things are equal. But this Eagles team's better. If we go coaching, defensive coordinator, Fangio, Spags, elite. Have no worries about defense. Even if injuries prop up, I think they're going to be okay. But offensively, obviously Jalen can go through some weird spurts. I also think the play calling's a little funky at times. I saw A.J. Brown being interviewed after the game. He's like, we get too conservative. First-time play caller, who's filling in for Kellen Moore, who had been doing it for a long time, even if you wanted to nitpick him last year. So I think it's more just cohesion with the coaching staff as a play caller with Jalen more than the similarities there. Because the Chiefs did not have A.J. Brown last year. They did not have Saquon Barkley, right? So you just have, Saquon, think how many long runs he had last year. Eventually he's going to pop some. You just get AJ the ball. He's going to break tackles and make plays. Devontae Smith, Heisman Trophy winner, top 15 pick, stud, contract extension already. This guy, their offensive personnel is better. Their offensive line is better. So I think the only similarities would be coming off success, but now Sirianni has a lot of experience coaching high-level, all-pros, team with high expectations. So beside, they've won some weird games, I think the similarities from a roster standpoint, Coach Reid would have much rather had a lot of the Eagles players than the ones he had last year. Having a debate with a few friends the other night. Would you say Kyler is pound for pound one of the best athletes we've ever seen? One of the best high school quarterbacks to ever come out of Texas, Heisman winner, number 1 overall pick, number 9 Major League Baseball pick. Obviously, his height has some major restrictions, but if we're just doing pound for pound, I think he's got to be up there with a guy like Deion Sanders. I think if you separate the athlete and the actual player, the one thing he can't go toe-to-toe with Deion Sanders is Deion's one of the best players in the history of football, right? Kyler is not that at football. Though athletically on the field, he's pretty special, but he's, I don't know, the 13th to 15th best quarterback in the NFL. He's good, but he's not really good, and he's not bad. He's just somewhere kind of in the middle. Height obviously has huge restrictions on his ability to play at a super high level on a weekly basis. So to me, the thing like Deion or, it's hard. Michael Jordan, I think, or LeBron. But when you're 6'6" and 6'8", 6'9", you can't really play anything else. Those guys are basketball players only. It is easier for a guy 5'9" to 6'1", 6'2". I mean, what's Deion? 6 feet, 6'1"? To just play multiple sports. Like those guys could play basketball, right? Charlie Ward can be a point guard and play quarterback. In like LeBron James, like he could be the best tight end. He could. How many 6'9" tight ends are there? It's actually pretty hard to have leverage, right? Obviously, athletically, he would be superior, but it's not. Football is a game of leverage, especially at the line of scrimmage. And tight ends, I mean, you could put them out wide, but we see Kyle Pitts, who's supposed to dominate. And you're like, so you're missing a little something there. Though I'm not comparing Kyle Pitts to LeBron James athletically. LeBron James is far superior. But my point is, it's just easier to function probably under like 6'4". So like I would put, the NBA, I think typically has the best athletes in the world, right? When he was in the prime of his career, I would say Russell Westbrook's athletic prowess is as good as any human ever. Same thing with like Derrick Rose, right? What's Russell? 6'4". What's Derrick Rose? 6'2". Allen Iverson, who was an elite high school football player. So I do think height factors in. It's easier to be a little more nimble when you're smaller, especially like change of direction. So that's a great question. I think Kyler's a pretty special athlete, yes. He's a better athlete than he is a player. Bears fan. And I hated Eberflus. But here's where I think you're wrong. You call him the worst defensive coordinator in the league, but the Bears defense actually is pretty good the last couple years, especially once we traded for Sweat. His issue was game management, and offensive coaches' play calling was atrocious on his watch. He has no talent in Dallas, but we have seen him command a top 5-10 defense as recently as 2 years ago. How many guys would not have had a bottom 5 defense with the personnel in Dallas? My issue with Eberflus is if we go back to Indianapolis, I'd have to go bring up the numbers. He was not like the best defense in the league. Now, I think they were a productive defense, and I hear what you're saying about the Bears. And listen, was I hyperbolic and overreacting to what I witnessed? Probably. I'm not disputing that they have Deion Sanders and Charles Haley and Ken Norton Jr. on their roster. I'm not expecting them to be the Seattle Seahawks of 2013. But when play after play after play, guys are wide open, I think no one has any clue what you're telling them. Right? Like Dennis Allen's a good example. All I hear is how great of a coordinator Dennis Allen is. And I think sometimes coordinators, when they have a good head coach, can look better than they actually are once you get them out from under that. Like I'm watching Dennis Allen this year with the Bears, and I think you would agree, Bears fans. Like, is Dennis Allen a good coordinator? Like, he was good with Sean Payton, right? He was good with, I think, was it Kubiak who he coached with in Denver? Maybe he coached with, maybe it was Mike McCoy. But I've just seen in the last couple of years, like, I'm not really seeing it. So I think part of it is your ability to communicate. Is he the worst defensive coordinator in the league? Obviously, that might have been a little strong. Do I think he's pretty overrated? When everyone's like, I just got Matt Eberflus. My defense, Dan Quinn's been the Cowboys defensive coordinator. Mike Zimmer's been the Cowboys defensive coordinator. Now, you could argue, especially Quinn had better players. But my point is, like, I've seen Quinn over the years can run a good defense. Eberflus, I don't know. I got that one red flagged. And one of my overall point on this whole situation is once you get into the cycle, it's like, Matt Eberflus, he's got to be, if he can't be a head coach, he can be a coordinator. Are we sure? Are there not other guys that could be better that are position coaches that can't get that spot over Eberflus because he's been a head coach? Who cares that the Bears hired a guy that had no business being a head coach? I think it's kind of a scam. I guess that's my overall point. Now, some guys, it's like, get the second opportunity, Dan Quinn. But Dan Quinn took a team to a Super Bowl. Like, Dan Quinn's pretty good. I've seen Dan Quinn hire Kyle Shanahan, Steve Sarkisian. Like, he's kind of on the right guys. Like, I got Matt Eberflus, like, I don't know. I just got him a giant red flag of, are we sure this guy knows what he's doing? That's I guess, my stance. Is he the worst coordinator in the league? Was that a little probably over the top? Yeah. Sometimes I'm emotional. Sometimes I'm amped up on football Sundays. But do I think he's extremely overrated? Fuck yes, I do. We are extremely excited to announce our new presenting sponsor, Hard Rock Bet. Everyone knows and loves their hotels and casinos, but now you can use the top-rated Hard Rock Bet sportsbook to place all your NFL bets this season. Hard Rock Bet is the only legal sportsbook in the state of Florida and is also available in Arizona, Ohio, New Jersey, Indiana, Tennessee, Virginia, Illinois, and Colorado, with more states to come. You can also play on Hard Rock Bet's online casino if you are in New Jersey. As we gear up for the NFL season, sign up for Hard Rock Bet and make a $5 bet, and you'll get $150 in bonus bets if you win. Head over to Hard Rock Bet, sign up, and make your first deposit today. As a Packer fan, it drives me crazy that everyone penciled in the Packers as the best team in the league. Probably guilty here. But I don't think they look like it through 2 weeks, and Jordan Love has been incredibly average. As Colin says, do you think Jordan Love has the quote-unquote it? Oh, I actually read that wrong. Do you think Jordan Love is an if quarterback? Maybe I don't quite follow you there. Like, if he has the help, if he has the coaching. Like, yeah, is Jordan Love, Josh Allen, Lamar Jackson, Justin Herbert? No. Patrick Mahomes? But do I think he's pretty good? I do. I also think, and Stuckey told us this on Thursday, and this dude's running the numbers like he's like stock trading with football. He's like, this Browns defense is pretty elite. Like, don't expect the Packers to throw up 30 points. That's not going to happen. That's why he hammered the Browns. Like, good point. And you're watching that game. You're like, listen, it's the NFL. You go on the road to Cleveland. You win a game on the road 10-0 or 10-3. Whatever, you tip your hat. But his interception in that game, and I'm watching the 4-box, I just assume, like, this is going to be ugly. There's not going to be that much takeaway. Packer fans will be like, oh, we didn't play that well. But it's like, you're playing an elite defense. Whatever. Road win, get out of there. And then he throws that interception. They basically went, they're up 10-0. I'm pretty sure it went like this. They punted, then the Browns kicked the field goal. Then he threw an interception, and they scored a touchdown. So now it's 10-10. Then the Packers drove, kicked the field goal. It's blocked. And then obviously the Browns hit the game-winning field goal. I mean, tough stretch there in the fourth quarter. You would be nervous. Let's put it like whatever a number that you're gambling that would make you uncomfortable, $100, $1,000, whatever the number is. In a huge game, right? At Philly, whatever, you would be nervous against the Rams with Jordan Love. He would be the thing because I think they're well coached. If they're healthy, they definitely have offensive pieces. Defensively, they're clearly really good. Special teams, I would say historically, has been a little bugaboo with the franchise. But I hear what you're saying. I wouldn't freak out just quite yet. Love your content. A question for the video, you do. I'm really surprised to hear you and Colin basically trash Raiola like he's underperforming at Nebraska. The kid took less money than he could have gotten to go to a 5-win program because it meant a lot to his dad. Then as a true freshman in the Big Ten, he takes them to their first bowl win in like a decade. Against Michigan, who has a far better roster than Nebraska, he goes 30 of 41 for 300 yards and the O-line that can't protect him for a half a second. And you guys are giving him zero credit. Underwood goes 12 for 22 for 100 yards, running through holes that you and me could have ran through because he's on the far better roster, but he's somehow the far better quarterback. Now, I think you're misquoting me here. Colin talked about Underwood, where I agree his physical attributes are pretty special. Long way to go before we anoint him as this all-time great quarterback. I'm not disagreeing with you there. What I said on Raiola is the hype, and you'd know better than me. You're clearly a Nebraska fan. I thought a huge reason he went to Nebraska is they offered him the most money. I know the connection with the family. Isn't his uncle's a coach on the staff and coaches the offensive line. But I thought that he was originally, was he going to Arizona State, then Georgia? Maybe it was Ohio State, then Georgia, then Nebraska. But I thought the money kept going up. I guess I was expecting just like the best player in the country. And maybe unfair of me, like he was the Patrick Mahomes, the way I was expecting Patrick Mahomes 2.0. I've just been a little underwhelmed over the course of his career for the hype. But because I did feel it's not apples to apples with Arch, because it's impossible to be as famous as Arch Manning, the Raiola family. But there was a ton of buzz. And listen, like you said, it's not like an epic failure. I'm not putting the the reason this team can't ever beat a good team on him all the time. But you watch him, and I think I heard Van Pelt say this, like there's a little nonchalant about his game that it's just, I don't know. I'm watching John Mateer, again, who's older, but just have more urgency to his game. I just like a little more urgency to my quarterback. I never said the guy's a bum, never said he's a scrub, never said I'd cut the guy. I just think you were hoping for a little bit more. Underwood, this is his what, fourth game of his career? He's 18. This guy's already got a year in. I think sometimes when you just bring up something that if you're a fan of that team, which I understand, and I get this a lot with Bears fans, like you hate us. I used to get this with Raider fans. No, I actually am completely unemotional about all this shit. Literally, couldn't be any less emotionally the way I look at sports, which honestly makes me sad sometimes. Now I get excited to talk about it, but I'm not a. If Caleb becomes a great player, I'll be the first. I don't care. It doesn't like I whether my opinion's right or wrong. I don't get paid any more money. Like I'm in the entertainment business, but I promise you this: I'm if becomes the number one overall pick and is a star, hell yeah, that's badass, right? Arch Manning stinks right now. I hope he's good. I hope Caleb is a stud. You know why? I watch football for a living. The more good quarterbacks there are, the better it is for my viewing experience. I don't want to be stuck watching Jake Browning or Spencer Rattler. Those guys seem like good guys. It's not great players. Though I was kind of high on Rattler and kind of Browning, and then they both had awful games. But I promise you, I do not care. I'm not. You could argue for like 6 months when it was clear that Mark Davis and his dude with the Raiders got me fired back in 2016. There was some emotional hate. I'd be lying if I told you otherwise. I'm a human being. But for the I don't know, easily this decade, I could not care any less. And I definitely don't care about any of this other stuff based on a take I had. If my take's wrong, I'll pivot. I don't care. I truly don't. I'm not a hater of Raiola. I just was expecting more whenever I watch him play. Do you think the Mahomes glaze is out of hand to the point it hinders the watching experience? I would say his play in the first half against the Giants wasn't great. And when he threw a low backwards pass that was dropped, all Collinsworth could do was praise him for running the ball down. For running that was a sweet play. He wouldn't shut up to the point that my wife, who's not known for her football wisdom, remarked, "Why's he being so praised when he's the one that threw the poor pass?" I honestly used to be a big fan of his. I even cheered for him over Brady in the Super Bowl. But over the last 5 years, when everyone on TV keeps telling me how great he is, and my eyes can clearly see that Josh and Lamar play looks better and more efficient than his, I've turned into possibly the biggest Mahomes hater. Why does he waddle like a penguin? Spread your feet apart and walk like a man. That's sports, baby. There is no better feeling than hate watching someone in sports. The one thing I still am emotionally tied to, like I hate the Lakers, and it makes it extra special rooting against them with LeBron. But it's fun. I kind of like Luca, but the more and more I watch him in that in that Lakers jersey, I'll find a way to hate him. I'm supposed to hate the Dodgers being a Giants fan, but honestly, I don't care. I kind of like Otani. Mookie Betts seems like a badass. So it's like sports hate is a huge, huge part of this business we're all in. And part of liking and disliking players, listen, for whatever reason, it doesn't bother me. And like I said, I truly believe that play he made, yeah, he, threw the ball backwards, but he knew it and he got the ball back. You got to admit that was pretty incredible. Now, if you don't like the reach around that Collinsworth is going to give him, it's going to be hard for you to watch a Chiefs game when Mahomes is playing because Collinsworth treats Mahomes like Madden treated Favre. And you could argue, relative to the other quarterbacks, it's not quite as great. But I watched Collinsworth call Josh and Lamar's game, and it felt like he was, ejaculating the entire time, all over himself nonstop, which we all were. So listen, you want to hate him? That's part of the. Once you become as big as they've become, and they have, and numbers show it, the biggest brand in the sport, you're gonna get people that are gonna start just gravitating toward anti you. The Yankees, the Lakers, the Cowboys had this for a while, but I would say not. The Eagles definitely have this right now. Like there are a lot of people I'm sure rooting against the Eagles. They're just tired of them. That's part of this whole thing. So I guess my overall take is I get where you're coming from. Uh, I like them. I think part of it is, having friends on the staff. I just know so much about the guy that like I find myself rooting for guys that I know are really high level people. It's why it's really easy for me. I remember when I had a buddy join the Raven staff a couple years ago and started hearing stories about Lamar. I'm like, I love this guy. And because historically, I would say that style of quarterback wasn't really my cup of tea. Obviously, he's the best version of it, but it's like I would have bet against it working. It's like now I root for the guy. I hear the same things. Anyone I know with the Bills that have been around Josh, I would say the same things. People I knew, offensive linemen that I went to Fresno State when I was a GA that played with Phillip Rivers and Matt Stafford. I remember the guy telling me stories. I'm like, these guys are easy to root for. So, and when you hear stories about the opposite, like, oh, this guy's a dick, like it's easy to root against. No, you're just rooting against Mahomes because of you feel you're being told X and you see Y, which I understand. I thought he was pretty good against the Giants, to be honest with you, given what he's playing with. There's a reason Andy went after Travis and not him. I mean, this the situation he's dealing with, and again, you're probably like, why is everyone telling me this? Because it just feels kind of chaotic. It really does. When do we stop debating Matt Stafford as a future Hall of Famer? Yes, he's had a few good years, but most people are out on Russell for being a Hall of Famer. And between the two, Stafford has two Pro Bowls, while Wilson has 10 Pro Bowls plus an All Pro. I'm with you. Sometimes watching Stafford, because I'm pretty critical of putting guys into the Hall of Fame. Like to me, it should be you don't even have to think twice, right? Ray Lewis, Ed Reed, Troy Polamalu, Peyton Manning, Tom Brady, Adrian Peterson. Anytime it's like, it's like you're the Hall really good, and in this world, a guy like Stafford, you made $400 million to be in the debate club, right? We debate how good you actually were, but you're not in the club with Deion Sanders and Barry Sanders, right? And Joe Montana. Like you don't sit at that table, which is fine. And like I say the same thing about Matt Ryan and Cam Newton. Like I think there were a lot of guys that were elite at could play at a really high level, but it's like even Eli Manning. Now the thing Eli has is the two Super Bowls against Bill and Tom, but I think we all agree on the aggregate. Like, was Eli a Hall of Fame player, or did he have some Hall of Fame moments? Is Matt Stafford a Hall of Fame player, or did he have some Hall of Fame moments? And I think we got to distinguish the two. Like Peyton Manning, Tom Brady, Aaron Rodgers. Those, no one has to argue. Hall of Famers. No doubt about it. Aaron Donald, like, best player forever. Right? It's like when you hear every player go, yeah, I think Trent Williams was like the most talented guy I've ever seen. It's like, yeah, but it's like, well, is this guy? I don't know. Anytime we start doing that, then I think we got a problem. So I'm in agreement with you. Now, I think he would say, or if I was debating for Stafford, I'd go, well, Russell got Pete Carroll in the Legion of Boom in the prime of his career. Matt Stafford got the Detroit Lions pre Dan Campbell. And but it's like that's part of the gig. I don't know what to tell you. He played on the Lions. Like sucks for him. Rodgers got the Packers. Because there's an argument to be made if you flip the two of them that I think we would have a similar argument. Stafford would have had a lot of success with the Packers, probably been a Super Bowl champ. And, Aaron Rodgers probably would have looked really good, assuming he got pretty good coaching fundamentally those first couple years to get the Cal ball above his shoulder out of there. But he probably would have lost a lot, but put up some good numbers. And everyone's like, God, this guy's a freak talent. He just doesn't win that often. So I think that's fair, but that didn't happen. Aaron Rodgers went to the Packers and he went to the Lions. I'm a lifelong Denver fan and can't help but worry that this year's team is reflecting some bad habits that we've endured over the last decade. In your opinion, does Sean Payton still have the qualities needed to get his team where it needs to be? I saw a headline today. I didn't watch the press conference that Sean Payton said that the offense is not doing well enough around Bo Nix. And again, I just saw the headline, but he left a little something to be desired so far this season. And it's mainly because Sean Payton said, this guy's the best. This guy is going to be awesome. He was the one. Obviously, he blew the team, which I don't have as big of an issue with. They were a playoff team last year. We thought they were better this year. I have no problem going. I think this team can be a serious contender. Sean Payton's been around the block. I think he believed that. But he told us how great this quarterback is, and it's been a little bumpy road early on. Now, maybe Sean Payton, who obviously is breaking down the film and knows all the assignments, going, guys are screwing up, but they're a screw up from being 2-1, right? If they don't screw up that field goal block, they're 2-1, and that win against the Colts looks pretty good because the Colts have played well. And they were beating the Chargers 20 to 13 with not that much time left. I have to look at the game log what time Herbert got the ball back, but it was late in the fourth quarter. So my overall point is they're not. There's some 1-2 teams that are not good. They're a 1-2 team, and I said this last night after the Sunday night game. When you look at the teams they're about to play, they're going to get all of a sudden you're going to look up and they're going to be, 6-3. So their record's going to look. But part of being a contender, right? Part of being like this team can win the AFC. You got to beat the good teams. And lost to the Colts. Now you can argue that, but like you just got beat fair and square against the Chargers when you had a massive advantage. A massive advantage. The Chargers played a 7 p.m. kickoff on the road. Now you can argue it's an hour flight. Still, the game ends in Vegas at 10:30. By the time everyone showered, eats, press conferences, by the time you get on the plane, what time are the Chargers taking off? 1 o'clock at night. So by the time the Chargers land 2:15, now even if you go home for a couple hours, back to the I mean you have no sleep as a coach. You get back to the office 6 or 7 in the morning, maybe just go to the office and sleep there. They've already had a day ahead of you. So pretty embarrassing loss when you factor in that. Like that can't happen if you're a Super Bowl contender. Because if the roles were reversed, I would have loved the Chargers in that spot. Is Daniel Jones good now? If the Colts win the division and Danny Dimes looks good or wins in the playoffs, am I allowed to revoke my fanship? What do you make of the Colts' early success? I'm going to pepper you for the mail. This is another Dart asking Eli Manning for reservations at an exclusive restaurant in New York City. Something or nothing. If I'm nitpicking, don't love the look. As a scout, how would you view an unproven rookie asking a legend of the franchise for reservations? So he asked Eli, I must have missed this story, to call the restaurant and get the reservations, or do you ask Eli, hey, I'm looking to take this babe out to a sweet ass dinner. Do you know what's the coolest spot? And if you know the guy, could you call for me? It's a pretty bold move. I would say I don't put that much. I mean, the amount of these type things that happen, I put little to no stock in any of that situation. This guy also comes from Ole Miss. That's the other thing. He's Ole Miss quarterback. Eli's an Ole Miss quarterback. It's not totally random. Like there was a connection there with Lane, the Manning family. I have a little. That doesn't bother me at all. Actually, I think there's a decent chance that they knew each other pretty well, or at least have met each other multiple times. And I do think when you're a legendary quarterback at a university, and then you go to the Giants, and then the Giants draft a guy in the first round from your university where he's been a several year starter. Didn't Eli get his number retired a couple years ago when Jackson was there? I just think that they would have come in contact several times. I'd be stunned if they weren't texting over the last couple years. Be stunned. Could be wrong, but so I have zero issue or even think that's weird. I do think it sucks. Not because, I saw Saquon say, I don't know if he said this after the Eagles Rams game or he said it like sometime Thursday or Friday, but no one he's rooting for more that's not associated with the Eagles than Daniel Jones. So it's like Saquon's a high level cat. Clearly, Daniel Jones is well liked. To me, it's easy if like the dude was a slappy and it just was a douche, and you're like, you know what, this wasn't gonna work. But that doesn't seem like the case. But on the flip side, like he did play bad. I mean, was it last year or 2 years ago where he threw the interception from he was getting sacked in the end zone? It would have been a safety. He like heaves it as he's being thrown down. The dude catches it and walks into the end zone for a pick six. It's like one of the worst plays. It was like Will Levis level. He was playing really, really poorly. But I said this about Jackson Dart and Russell Wilson. You could also blame the head coach for this. Like the head coach is the offensive guy, and this situation is just all out of whack. So you let Saquon walk because of the money. He wouldn't have been as good there. Don't even argue that. But this situation, like quarterbacks, you let him go, and then your quarterback situation is weird. You get playing Russell Wilson, and this guy's going to be the comeback player of the year. Like it is kind of a kick in the nuts. I'm pissed, man. My Raiders suck again. This offensive line is a disgrace. Genty has to break 3 tackles just to get back to the line of scrimmage. Just proves your draft philosophy right. I'm going to give John and Pete some time, but I hate that I have to go through this for another year. I think anytime, and I'm not a hater of Genty. I promise you I'm rooting for him. I just didn't agree with the pick. I just didn't. Now, maybe call me old school, call me new school. I don't know. I guess old school, you take running backs really high. But most of the running backs that have hit really high, I mean, Ricky Williams kind of got derailed with some weed, but obviously once he figured it out and got on the Dolphins, I mean, he was like the best player in the league for a couple of years. If I'm going to take a running back in the top 10, he better be like a transcendent talent, like Saquon is. And Saquon even has some limitations. Doesn't catch the ball, I would say at an elite level. But if you just look at the guys who were drafted high in the last decade at running back, Genty's not on their level. I would say McCaffrey, Saquon, and Bijan are pretty elite prospects at running back. I just, no one, I think, in the NFL, if you had to rank those 4 players coming out of college, I think if we got 10 personnel guys, GMs, college scouting directors, I think Genty would be fourth on everyone's list. I'm pretty confident on that. But I would say this, like Spytek, he's been around Jason Light for a long time. Like he definitely knows talent. And you can only draft off the crop of guys that you get. But I'd have to go back and look over the next 10 picks. But it feels like I just, unless you're taking a quarterback, like if all things are equal, I'm just taking an offensive or defensive lineman. Can I tell you about my friends at Mando? Here's the thing. Summer is upon us. Where I live, I think it's 110 degrees today. And I'm a sweater. And I don't like smelling. So the key with Mando and their deodorant, it has sweat control. So not only does it block the odor all day, but it controls my sweat. I don't like to just be soaked if I'm just walking outside to grab something out of my car. And here's the thing. It was created by a doctor who saw firsthand how normal BO was being misdiagnosed and mistreated. So all the products, they're baking soda free, and you can choose from a variety of fresh scents like bourbon leather, clover woods, Mount Fuji is the one I use, or just the go-to pro sport. Want to try America's #1 whole body deodorant formula right now? You can find them in Walmart, Target, and other retailers around the country. Mando Starter Pack is perfect for new customers. It comes with a solid starter deodorant, cream tube deodorant, 2 free products of your choice, like Mini Mando body wash or deodorant wipes, love those, and free shipping. As a special offer for listeners, new customers get 20% off site-wide with our exclusive code. Use the code JOHN, that's JOHN, at shopmando.com. That's shopmando.com for 20% off site-wide plus free shipping. shopmando.com. Please support our show. Tell them we sent you. Mando's got you covered. Protect your pits, baby. Smell great doing it. 2 things. How annoying is Jason Garrett? I'm a Notre Dame alum and huge fan, and I've listened to him pretty often, and it's so brutal. I'm at the point where I mute the game and have sound on the another TV. I can't even stand looking at him either. I feel you, dog. That's where I get more hate. It takes a lot for me to hate like a random player, unless I know a story about them that's not public. But like I gotta hate like the way you played and watch you for a long time. Like James Harden, like I can't watch him play. But most guys in the NFL, it's like Kyler Murray. I don't really like his style, but I enjoy watching him play. Right? Wouldn't want him to be my quarterback, but I enjoyed yesterday just watching Kyler take on the Niners. But my point is, I hate broadcasters, and I would just say media people dramatically more than players. I mean, and I'm with you on Jason Garrett, just the side of him. Like, this fucking pisses me off. This, I'm angry just looking at this guy. I think this guy's running a scam. But I was in the car. What was I doing? Oh, the other day I went, I got a food allergy test. I heard Bryson DeChambeau say this a couple years ago. He said, if I could recommend one thing to any human being, it would be to get your blood drawn and get the food allergy test. Basically tells you what foods are bad for you. And as you get older, your metabolism slows, and I'm probably eating food that inflames me, that's not healthy for me. I don't feel the same as I did when I was younger. So I went. So I was driving there. It's basically right next. It's like the IV place, blood place. Got a 2-for-1 actually. Got an IV too. But Jason Garrett's flipping channels on Sirius and was on with Florio and actually told a pretty funny story about how his like end of his career and he was going to go to the Raiders and well, it was just actually it was like this is the most likable I've ever heard the guy. But when I see him on TV and that fake political smile he's got going and the claps, it's like, oh my god. I didn't was he on the call? I didn't watch the Notre Dame Purdue game, but yeah, I feel your pain there. Have you noticed more flags being thrown, especially in week 3 of the NFL? I've sat here all day and watched almost every game. I swear, there's a flag on. I feel like it's been that way for a while. I think two things that did not used to exist were the referee's impact on just a series in, series out basis in the NFL has never been worse. And I do think there's an element of technology that has made sports worse. Like, listen, in the history of playing basketball, whether you played eighth grade basketball, whether you played high school basketball, whether you played in college or the pros, it was clear when you both went to the corner for a ball and it hit off someone's hand, whose hand it went off of. Even if technically it like might have gone off your hand, but forever, 99% of the time it was like, okay, it's your ball, right? Yet now with instant replay, it's like we can see the tip of the nail. I think football's gotten a little bit like that, and it makes a worse experience. Like there has to, I don't mind some human element. Not with like the game on the line in the fourth quarter, but in the second quarter, like what are we doing? The guy barely grabbed him. That's not defensive holding. The quarterback got sacked anyway. Who gives a shit? But the flags and the injuries, these guys they have to be in better shape. They're better with their nutrition, all these stuff than ever. Yet guys drop literally like flies every game. I mean, just think about yesterday. How many guys got carted off? Lane Johnson to Nick Bosa. It's just guy after guy after guy after guy. See ya. Even healthy players by the end of the game are like, is this guy going to make it to October? How is it possible for Jawaan Taylor to make the same penalties week in and week out with no adjustment? How does Andy not bench him or make an adjustment at the same time? Well, they don't have better behind him, one. And two, I think there's an element if you're him and you go, well, this guy, Brian Burns or Abdul Carter, they're faster than me. How old is Jawaan Taylor right now? 33? No, I guess he's not as old as I thought. No, he's 27. God, he feels older. He's only been in the league since 2019. God, I would have guessed I was way off. Second round pick 35, 2019. Damn, played at Florida 16 to 18. So, I mean, he's just not as good as and fast as these guys. I think he's doing this to try to beat these guys, but why he jumps and other guys don't, I don't, I don't know. Long time listener. I'm a diehard Eagle fan, and I'm tired of the slander that gets thrown on this team, specifically Sirianni and Jalen Hurts. I've watched a lot of Eagles football, and these dudes just win. Two Super Bowl appearances and champions. Hurts won the fucking MVP. I added the F bomb because I think he deserved it. My question is this: although it's absurdly early in the season, who's your pick to win the Super Bowl? After seeing the first 3 weeks, after the win against the Rams, mine is undoubtedly the Eagles. They are proven winners, and no matter the circumstances, congratulations on the baby. Uh, I'm recording this part before Monday Night Football. I think I would say Bills or Ravens in the AFC. I think the Chiefs are still going to be heard from. I would say this about the NFC. Your team when healthy is really good. And if you have home field advantage, it's going to be really, really hard to beat. You're those two big defensive linemen. Zach Bond is such a good player now. You add Campbell, you get Fangio, you scheming him up. You have so much talent on offense, but like your offense has shown it can be stagnant. Whether that's the play calling, whether that's Jalen just gets into a weird rhythm, like that, we're not making this up. So in a playoff game, hell, yesterday is a good example. That if your defense, one of those stops turn instead of a field goal turns into a touchdown, you just can't come back because the numbers aren't on your side. And this is not a 7 game series. So I would say the Rams, obviously you guys, to me would be the favorite. And then there's that next group of teams. And the thing you got going for you is like, is Jordan Love going to beat you? Is Jordan Love going to beat you? Like the Packers unit and the coaching staff, like they could hang, but can the quarterback? I would say we do not know that yet. Stafford could. He played a good half. I thought the second half he was a little hit or miss. Is Jared Goff going to go outside in Philadelphia in the middle of January and win a game? Sam Darnold's going to do that? The 49ers just lost Nick Bosa. Don't love their chances. Tampa got to get healthy. If they're healthy, they've historically kind of had the Eagles number a little bit. So yeah, I would say you guys with the next group of like 4 or 5 teams. The football's weird. I mean, it's just Joe Montana and Bill Walsh lost a lot of playoff games. Tom Brady and Belichick lost a ton, right? To the Jets, to the Ravens, to the Broncos, to Peyton Manning. You could be the best team and still lose. That's what makes football so awesome, so unpredictable, especially in the NFL more than college. This is the next question. What I was just saying. Do you think this Buccaneers team reminds you of the Chiefs from last year? I loved it. You know, I got asked that about the Eagles. Now the Bucs. Like he's like, hey, can we just have a weird season but go 15-2 and be in the Super Bowl? I don't think anyone can parallel. The Chiefs had been to 5 or 6 Super Bowls, right? Or at the time, 4 or 5, and they had many considered the best quarterback in football. Now you guys got Baker, who's excellent coming back in these games. You have excellent players at every position. You're going to get Wirfs back. You're going to get uh, Godwin back. You have some really good defensive players. You did lose Clancy, who I guess I saw the headline can come back potentially in the playoffs. To me, there's some pass rush. I remember Jason Light texting me. I text him something about the rookie receiver in training camp, and he was mentioning this guy that they had lost to an ACL injury that was having a great training camp. Like they've had some injuries on the defensive line with the edge rushers, so that to me would be a little concerning. But I think Tampa's pretty good. Question for the bag: is it possible this year the AFC South has 2 playoff teams? With the Bengals looking like a joke, Steelers being complete ass, and the only 2 other conference playoff teams I could see is the West. However, could you see a scenario where Indy, Houston/Jacksonville make the playoffs? I don't know what the stats are over the last 3 or 4 years, however long they've been doing the 17-game season. I think it's pretty difficult at 0-3 to make the playoffs. Because if you go 0-3, if you go 7-7 the rest of the year, you go 7-10. So to get 10 wins at 0-3, you have to go 10-4. Are the Texans going 10-4? I can't see that. Not the way they're playing. Because I thought, listen, I bet on them. I was like, this is the week they flip it around. And then you're looking like it's the same thing. They look exactly the same. So it would be Indy. You're 3-0 and you're just good, and you have a coach that's clearly pretty dynamic. Their defense is better. Like I'd be a little stunned if Indy doesn't get to 10 wins. Again, you can have a quarterback injury if Anthony Richardson came in. Who knows? But assuming health, I think Indy is in. I would say Indy to me would be a little stunning if they didn't win the division. And Jacksonville is just, I would say they're interesting. I actually have a theory on Jacksonville because I've seen a lot of people talking about Brian Thomas Jr. kind of coming back to earth. And I was thinking about this today at the gym. It's kind of sad. This is what I get into deep thought about. I wonder if he is a little derailed emotionally and his confidence by them drafting Travis Hunter. It's like I was the young star. And then you trade up and get Travis Hunter, who not only gets to play my position, but also gets to play DB, and everyone just anoints him as like the most impressive thing they've ever seen. And I don't know if this is true. Again, it's not like I've read any headlines. I was just thinking if I was in his shoes and I was a young person, let's face it, when you're young, you could have as much outward bravado and cockiness as you want. Like our we're all a little insecure. That could rattle you a little bit. And I wonder if that derailed him a little bit mentally. Because I know he made like one of the big plays in the end of that Houston game, but it's been a bad season so far relative to the hype. And I wonder if the Travis Hunter thing has kind of backfired on them that way. I mean, let's face it. If they could do it over again, how would you not take Abdul Carter? It's just, you can't. How do you take this guy's a pass rusher? He's kind of like Micah Parsons light. And honestly, it's not inconceivable that he could just become Micah Parsons 2.0. And you're going to take a wide receiver corner over that? In what land where football is taught do you go, if both these two things are equal, you can take either one, that's who you're going to take. So if you're going to trade up from 5 to 2, if they traded up to take Abdul Carter, I can be like, damn, ballsy move, but good move. We'll end on this. Been a fan of the pod pre-volume. I won the hoodie in my pick during your and Colin's pod after the Chiefs Eagles Super Bowl. I don't even remember that, but congrats. At any rate, I've had this take for a while, but get crickets from other quote unquote football fans. How many plays in the playbook have everyone on offense, including the center, in a 4-point stance? The tush push is the only one I've seen. This century, anyway. Is it the biggest reason the refs can't see the false starts and the offense already has the advantage of the snap count? Pretty hard for D linemen to get leverage. To me, that is an easy way for the league to get rid of the play without getting rid of the play. It's a good question. If you think about most like goal lines, right? If you're at the 1 yard line and it's third and goal or fourth and goal, and it's like they're going to run it, defense knows it. Non Eagles, most of the offense, I'd have to look even closer, I guess, because I'm just assuming most offense is in just their normal offensive line stance, but most defense in goal line has a 4-point stance, especially from the 5 or 6 defensive linemen that you put on the field for goal line. Both hands are down, and their legs. They're like they're in the position for the tush push, but it doesn't feel like the offense often is. So I think the issue is less about the chaos there and more about the shove for Jalen behind that people honestly I think it's less about the play and more just that like no one can stop it. And it's inevitable what's gonna happen. I mean, you're watching the game and every time they even get close, you're like, could they just run the tush push right here? It's like 3rd and 4. Could they just get 2 yards or 3 yards and then 1 yard or 2 yards and 2 yards? I just think whenever I'm watching the Eagles, I'm like, God, they could just run it now. And that kind of sucks. And you can say the integrity of the game, it's a football play based on the rules right now. True, but this is entertainment, and it feels like not that entertaining of a play, even if they're clearly the only teams that can do it and do it well. So, been a lot of reports. Could it get banned during the season? Could it get banned? I think I saw Jason Kelsey say that he expects it to go away after, during this offseason. I would tend to agree.